know what? I'm about to tell you something that might sound crazy at first. Happiness isn't this magical thing that just happens to you when the stars align perfectly. It's not something you stumble upon when you finally get that dream job, meet the perfect person, or have enough money in your bank account. Nope. Happiness is actually something you can build, brick by brick, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. I get it. Right now you might be rolling your eyes thinking, yeah, right. Easy to say when you're not dealing with my problems. But stick with me here, because what I'm about to share isn't some fluffy, feel-good nonsense. This is real, tested, proven stuff that actually works. And by the time we're done, you're going to have a complete toolkit for creating happiness whenever you need it, regardless of what chaos life throws your way. Here's the thing that changes everything. Happiness is a skill. Just like learning to ride a bike or cook a meal, you can learn it, practice it, and get better at it over time. Right now, millions of people are walking around believing they're stuck in their misery. They think happy people just got lucky, that they don't have real problems, that they're living in some fantasy bubble where nothing bad ever happens. But here's what the research actually shows, and this is going to blow your mind. The happiest people on this planet aren't the ones with perfect lives. They're not the ones without problems, stress, or struggles. They're the people who've figured out how to create happiness from the inside out, no matter what's happening on the outside. And if they can do it, so can you. This isn't about pretending everything's fine when it's not. This isn't about slapping a fake smile on your face and ignoring your pain. This is about understanding how your mind actually works and learning to work with it instead of against it. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you. Your emotional state is way more under your control than you've been led to believe. Think about the difference between people who thrive and people who just barely survive. It's not luck. It's not genetics. It's not having an easier life. It's knowledge. It's understanding how to direct your mind toward well-being instead of letting it spiral into suffering. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to do that. Chapter 1. The Lie That's Keeping You Stuck. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. How many times have you caught yourself thinking something like, "I'll be happy when I finally get that promotion," or, "Once I lose these 20 pounds, then I'll feel good about myself," or, "If I could just find the right relationship, everything would be perfect"? If you're like most people, you probably think some version of this thought almost every single day. And friend, this is exactly what's keeping you trapped in a cycle of never-ending dissatisfaction. Welcome to what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. And it's one of the sneakiest traps your brain can set for you. Here's how it works. You want something. You work hard for it. You finally get it. You feel amazing for a little while, maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks. And then, almost like magic, that happiness just evaporates. You're back to feeling exactly how you felt before, except now you're looking at the next thing that's going to finally make you happy. Sound familiar? You got the car you wanted, And for the first month, every time you drove it, you felt like $1,000,000. Now, it's just transportation. You moved into that nicer apartment, and initially, you couldn't believe how lucky you were. Now, you barely notice it. You started dating someone amazing, and the first few months were pure bliss. Now, the excitement has worn off, and you're noticing all their annoying habits. This isn't your fault. Your brain is literally designed to work this way. Let me explain what's happening under the hood. When you get something you want, your brain releases dopamine. Now, here's the kicker. Dopamine isn't actually the happiness chemical. It's the wanting chemical. It's all about anticipation and desire, not satisfaction. Your brain is brilliant at adapting to positive experiences. What felt incredible yesterday becomes the new normal today. Scientists call this hedonic adaptation, and it's actually an evolutionary feature, not a bug. Your ancestors who were never satisfied, who always wanted more, were the ones who survived and had kids. The content, satisfied ones, they didn't push as hard to survive and thrive. But in today's world, this ancient survival mechanism is making you miserable. You're constantly chasing the next thing, believing that happiness is always just one achievement away, one purchase away, one life change away. Meanwhile, actual happiness keeps slipping through your fingers because you're too busy looking ahead to notice what you already have. Here's something that might shock you. Remember those studies about lottery winners? People who literally won millions of dollars? Within just a few years, they returned to pretty much the same happiness levels they had before winning. And get this, people who experienced devastating accidents and became paralyzed also returned to their baseline happiness levels much faster than anyone expected. What does this tell us? External circumstances have way less impact on your happiness than you think. A massive study that followed thousands of people for decades found that things like income, career success, and material possessions account for only about 10% of your happiness. 10%! Your genetic set point accounts for about 50%, which you can't really change. But here's the beautiful part. The remaining 40% is determined by your thoughts, your behaviors, and your daily habits. That 40% is completely within your control, and it's more than enough to completely transform how you experience life. But most people never tap into this 40% because they're too obsessed with chasing that 10%. They're trying to fix their circumstances instead of fixing their relationship with their circumstances. This is why you can meet people who have everything: wealth, success, fame, recognition, and they're absolutely miserable. And you can meet people who have very little, but seem to glow with genuine contentment and joy. The difference isn't what they have, it's how they think about what they have. Let's go deeper, because this gets even more interesting. Most people think happiness means feeling good all the time, never experiencing negative emotions, always being in a positive state. This impossible standard actually makes them more miserable, because they beat themselves up for having completely normal human emotions. Listen closely. Happiness isn't the absence of negative emotions. It's not about feeling good every single second. Real, sustainable happiness is about experiencing the full spectrum of human emotions without being controlled by them. It's about understanding that feelings are like weather. They come and go. They change. They pass through. Think of yourself as the sky and your emotions as clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dark and stormy. Sometimes they're light and fluffy. But the sky? The sky is always there, unchanged, regardless of what clouds are passing through. You are not your emotions. You are the one observing your emotions. And once you truly get this, everything changes. When you realize that feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent residents, you stop trying to control them and start focusing on what you can actually control: your responses, your thoughts, your actions. This shift in perspective is the foundation of everything else we're going to build together. The most effective approach to happiness isn't trying to eliminate problems or negative emotions. That's like trying to stop the weather. Instead, it's building psychological resilience so you can maintain your well-being regardless of what's happening. It's developing what experts call emotional regulation, the ability to feel difficult emotions without being completely overwhelmed by them. Chapter 2: Turning Your Emotions into Allies. Okay, let me hit you with something that might sting a little bit. Your brain isn't designed to make you happy. I know. Seems pretty unfair, right? But understanding this is actually incredibly liberating. Your brain's job is to keep you alive. And those two goals, staying alive and being happy, are often in direct conflict. Your ancient brain, the parts that developed when we were running from predators and hunting for food, operates on a simple principle: scan for threats, react to danger, keep you safe. This was incredibly useful when our ancestors faced real, immediate physical dangers. If you heard a rustle in the bushes, it was better to assume it was a tiger and run, even if it turned out to be just the wind. The cost of being wrong about a real threat was death. The cost of being wrong about a false alarm was just some wasted energy. But here's the problem. In our modern world, this same alarm system is going off constantly for things that aren't actually dangerous. Your brain treats a critical email from your boss the same way it would treat a charging predator. It responds to social rejection with the same intensity it would respond to physical pain. It interprets uncertainty about the future as an immediate threat to your survival. The result? You're living in a chronic state of stress and anxiety, even when you're objectively safe. You're sitting in a comfortable chair in a climate-controlled room with food in your refrigerator, and your brain is screaming at you like you're about to be eaten by a lion. This is where understanding emotional alchemy becomes absolutely game-changing. Emotional alchemy is the practice of transforming negative emotional states into positive ones through conscious mental techniques. And before you think this sounds too good to be true, let me explain the science behind it. Your emotions aren't facts about reality. They're interpretations created by your brain based on your thoughts, your beliefs, and your past experiences. Here's the mind-blowing insight from neuroscience. Your brain doesn't actually distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. This is why you can watch a horror movie and feel genuine fear even though you know intellectually that you're completely safe. It's why you can worry about something that hasn't even happened yet and feel the exact same stress as if it were actually happening right now. Your brain experiences your thoughts as reality. But here's where it gets exciting. This same principle works in your favor when you understand how to use it. When you learn how emotions are created, you can learn to influence them. Emotions begin with a thought, often so automatic that you don't even notice it. This thought triggers a chemical response in your brain, releasing neurotransmitters and hormones that create the physical sensation you call an emotion. The emotion then influences more thoughts, creating a feedback loop that can spiral upward into positive states or downward into negative ones. The secret to emotional alchemy is interrupting this process and consciously directing it toward positive states. This isn't about pretending to feel good when you don't. It's about understanding that you have way more control over your emotional state than you've been taught to believe. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic and you're going to be late for something important. Your automatic thought might be, "This is terrible. Everyone's going to think I'm unreliable. This could damage my reputation." This thought triggers stress hormones, creating feelings of anxiety and frustration. These emotions then generate more negative thoughts like, "I should have left earlier. I always mess things up. Nothing ever goes right for me." Now you're in a full-blown negative spiral, and your body is pumping out stress chemicals like you're in actual danger. But you could also choose a different thought. "This traffic is beyond my control. I'll send a quick message letting them know I'm running late. They'll understand. I can use this time to take some deep breaths and mentally prepare." This thought creates a completely different chemical response, releasing calming neurotransmitters and reducing stress hormones. Same external situation, completely different internal experience. This is emotional alchemy in action. You're taking the raw material of the situation and transforming it through the power of conscious interpretation. The more you practice this, the more automatic it becomes. Over time, you literally rewire your brain to default to more positive interpretations and emotional responses. Your neural pathways actually change. This isn't wishful thinking. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself. But emotional alchemy goes even deeper than just positive thinking. It's about understanding the purpose of every emotion and learning to work with them rather than against them. Every emotion you feel is trying to tell you something or help you in some way. Anger, for example, is often a signal that your boundaries have been violated or that something important to you is being threatened. Instead of suppressing anger or being completely overwhelmed by it, you can use it as information and energy to take appropriate action. The emotion itself isn't the problem. It's what you do with it that matters. Fear is often a signal that you're about to do something important, something that matters to you. Instead of letting fear stop you, you can reframe it as excitement and use it to fuel your performance. The physical sensations of fear and excitement are almost identical. The only difference is your interpretation. Sadness is often a signal that you've lost something meaningful, and it's your brain's way of processing that loss. Instead of trying to avoid sadness or rush through it, you can honor it as part of the healing process while taking care of yourself during difficult times. The practice of emotional alchemy also involves understanding that emotions are temporary. No emotion, positive or negative, lasts forever. When you're in the middle of a difficult emotional state, it feels like it will never end. But emotions are like weather patterns. They arise, they peak, and then they naturally subside if you don't feed them with resistant thoughts. Think about the last time you were really angry about something. In the moment, it felt all-consuming. But where is that anger now? It passed. It moved through you. The same is true for every emotion you'll ever experience. They're all temporary visitors. The key is learning not to hold on to them or push them away, but simply to let them flow through you. Chapter 3. Designing your days for automatic happiness. Here's a question for you. How do you approach your daily life? Do you just wake up and react to whatever comes your way, hoping for a good day? Or do you intentionally design your days to generate positive emotions and well-being? Most people approach happiness like they approach the weather. They just hope for a good day and deal with whatever shows up. But what if I told you that you could engineer your happiness the same way an architect engineers a building? What if you could create a daily structure that automatically generates positive emotions, resilience, and well-being, regardless of what challenges come your way? This is exactly what the happiest people in the world do, often without even realizing it. They've built what I call happiness architecture, a systematic approach to designing their days, their thoughts, and their behaviors in ways that consistently produce positive emotional states. And the beautiful thing is, once you understand the principles, you can start building this architecture into your own life today. The foundation of happiness architecture is understanding that your emotional state isn't random. It's the result of specific inputs: what you think about, what you focus on, how you move your body, what you consume mentally and physically, how you interact with others, and how you structure your time. When you take conscious control of these inputs, you take conscious control of your outputs, your emotions, your energy, and your overall well-being. Let's start with the most powerful component, your morning routine. How you start your day sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. And I mean everything. Most people sabotage themselves before they even get out of bed by immediately reaching for their phone. They flood their brain with other people's problems, disturbing news, work demands, and social media comparisons. They're essentially letting the outside world hijack their emotional state before they've even brushed their teeth. Think about that for a second. You're handing over control of your mood to whatever random content appears on your screen. That's like letting a stranger walk into your house first thing in the morning and rearrange all your furniture. It's insane when you really think about it. Instead, the happiest people protect the first hour of their day like it's sacred, because it is. They use this time to prime their brain for positivity, focus, and resilience. And before you start thinking you don't have time for this, let me stop you right there. We're not talking about hours of complicated rituals. We're talking about 15 to 20 minutes that will completely transform your entire day. Here's a simple but incredibly powerful sequence. Spend 5 minutes in gratitude practice. Not the surface level, "I'm grateful for my family" kind of gratitude. I mean deep, specific, feel it in your body gratitude. Instead of generic thoughts, get specific. I'm grateful for the way my best friend made me laugh yesterday. I'm grateful for the warmth of my bed. I'm grateful that my body carried me through yesterday's challenges. The key is to really feel the appreciation in your chest, in your heart. Don't just think the thoughts, feel the emotions. This practice literally rewires your brain to notice more positive aspects of your life automatically. When you consistently look for things to be grateful for, your brain gets better at spotting them throughout the day. It's like training your mental spotlight to illuminate what's working instead of what's broken. Next, spend 5 minutes setting a daily intention. This isn't a goal or a task. It's a way of being you want to embody throughout the day. Maybe you intend to be patient today, or curious, or kind, or present. Having a clear intention helps you respond consciously to situations instead of just reacting automatically on autopilot. Then spend 5 to 10 minutes moving your body. This doesn't have to be a full workout. It could be stretching, dancing to your favorite song, doing some jumping jacks, or just walking around your space. The key is to move with energy and intention, signaling to your brain that you're alive, you're awake, and you're ready for the day. Your physical environment also has a massive impact on your emotional state. But most people never think about this consciously. Cluttered, chaotic spaces create cluttered, chaotic mental states. Dark, cramped environments drain your energy and make you feel heavy. Ugly, depressing surroundings make you feel ugly and depressed inside. You don't need money to fix this. You need intention and awareness. Even small changes can make a huge difference. Open your curtains and let in natural light. Add a plant to your workspace. Organize one drawer or one corner of your room. Create a small, sacred space where you can sit quietly and think. These tiny environmental shifts compound over time and dramatically improve your daily emotional experience. Physical movement throughout the day is another crucial component. Your body and mind aren't separate systems operating independently. They're one integrated system. When you move your body in certain ways, you automatically change your mental and emotional state. This is why exercise is one of the most effective treatments for depression and anxiety, often more effective than medication without any of the side effects. But here's the thing. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic to harness this power. Simple movements throughout the day can shift your state instantly. When you feel stressed, anxious, or down, changing your physiology can change your psychology. Stand up straight. Roll your shoulders back. Take some deep breaths. Move your body with purpose. Your brain interprets these physical signals as indicators that you're confident and capable. and it adjusts your emotional state accordingly. Most people do the opposite. They slouch when they feel insecure, which makes them feel even more insecure. They hunch their shoulders when stressed, which increases their stress. They look down when sad, which deepens their sadness. But you can reverse this cycle by consciously adopting confident, energetic postures, even when you don't initially feel confident or energetic. Now, let's talk about your mental diet, which might be the most important component of all. Just like junk food makes your body feel sluggish and unhealthy, junk thoughts make your mind feel negative and pessimistic. And most people consume mental junk all day long. Negative news, gossip, complaints, worry, self-criticism, endless social media scrolling that makes them feel inadequate. Happy people are extremely selective about what they allow into their mental space. They limit news consumption to specific times and trustworthy sources. They avoid people who constantly complain or spread negativity. They choose books, podcasts, and content that educate, inspire, or entertain in genuinely positive ways. They practice what psychologists call cognitive hygiene, regularly cleaning out negative thought patterns and replacing them with more empowering ones. Think about it like this. If you ate fast food for every meal, you'd feel terrible physically. But somehow we think it's okay to consume a steady diet of mental junk and then wonder why we feel anxious and depressed. Your mind needs nutrition just like your body does. The final component of happiness architecture is social connection design. The quality of your relationships has an enormous impact on your happiness levels. Long-term studies have found that good relationships are the strongest predictor of happiness and life satisfaction. Not money, not fame, not achievement. Relationships. But it's not just about having relationships. It's about having the right kind of relationships. Toxic relationships drain your energy and poison your well-being. Superficial relationships leave you feeling lonely, even when you're surrounded by people. Deep, supportive relationships nourish your soul and provide genuine resilience during difficult times. Happy people are intentional about their social connections. They invest time and energy in relationships that are mutual, supportive, and growth-oriented. They set boundaries with people who consistently bring negativity into their lives. They seek out communities and friendships based on shared values and interests. They practice vulnerability and authenticity, which deepens connections and creates genuine intimacy. Chapter 4. The Gratitude Revolution That Changes Everything. If I could give you only one tool for creating instant happiness that works in any situation, hands down, it would be gratitude. But I'm not talking about the surface level, going through the motions gratitude that most people practice. I'm talking about deep, transformative gratitude that literally rewires your brain and changes your entire relationship with life. This is gratitude as a revolutionary act, a rebellion against the default negativity of the human mind. And once you understand how powerful this really is, you'll never look at gratitude the same way again. Here's what most people don't understand about gratitude. It's not just a nice feeling or polite social behavior. Gratitude is one of the most powerful neurological interventions available to human beings. When you practice genuine gratitude, you're literally changing the structure and function of your brain in ways that make you happier, healthier, and more resilient. Research on gratitude shows that people who regularly practice it experience significantly higher levels of positive emotions, better sleep, stronger immune systems, lower blood pressure, and more satisfying relationships. They're more optimistic, less depressed, and better able to cope with stress and trauma. They even live longer than people who don't practice gratitude. But here's the most amazing part. These benefits start showing up in just a few weeks of consistent practice. Your brain begins rewiring itself almost immediately. Gratitude activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for higher-order thinking and emotional regulation. It increases the production of dopamine and serotonin, your brain's natural happiness chemicals. It strengthens the neural pathways associated with positive thinking and weakens the pathways associated with negative thinking. This happens because of a fundamental principle in neuroscience. Neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you focus on something you're grateful for, you're strengthening the neural networks that look for positive aspects of your experience. Over time, gratitude becomes your brain's default setting. You start noticing good things automatically without having to consciously think about it. Your brain literally becomes a positivity-seeking machine instead of a threat-detecting machine. But most people practice gratitude wrong, and that's why they don't get these life-changing results. They think of obvious, generic things like health, family, or having a roof over their head. But they don't actually feel grateful. They just think the words. Or they only practice gratitude when things are going well, missing the opportunity to use it when they need it most. Real gratitude practice is about finding genuine appreciation in any moment, especially difficult moments. It's about training your mind to see gifts where others see problems, opportunities where others see obstacles, growth where others see setbacks. This isn't about pretending that bad things are good. It's about finding the authentic, positive aspects that are always present if you know how to look. Let me give you a specific example that might challenge you a bit. Imagine you unexpectedly lose your job. The natural, automatic response is panic, stress, and focusing on all the problems this creates, right? The bills you can't pay, the uncertainty, the blow to your identity and self-worth. But someone who practices revolutionary gratitude would approach it differently. They might feel genuinely grateful for the opportunity to reassess their career direction. Grateful for discovering which people in their life truly support them. Grateful for the skills and experience they've gained that can never be taken away. Grateful for the chance to pursue something they're more passionate about. Grateful for the wake-up call to make changes they've been avoiding. This isn't denial or toxic positivity. All of these things can be genuinely true simultaneously with the difficulty and challenge of the situation. Gratitude doesn't eliminate problems. It gives you the emotional resources to handle them more effectively. It shifts your focus from what you've lost to what you still have and what possibilities might open up. The key to revolutionary gratitude is specificity and sensation. Instead of generic thoughts like, "I'm grateful for my family," get specific. "I'm grateful for the way my daughter smiled at me this morning. I'm grateful for the hug my partner gave me without me even asking. I'm grateful for the text my mom sent just checking in on me." Really feel the warmth and appreciation in your chest as you think these thoughts. Let the emotion wash over you. This is what creates the neurological changes. Thinking the words without feeling the emotion is like going through the motions of exercise without actually moving your body. You won't get the benefits. Another powerful technique is contrast thinking. This involves imagining how much worse your situation could be, or remembering times when you didn't have something you now take for granted. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of getting frustrated, you could feel grateful that you have a car, that you have somewhere important to go, that you live in a time and place where such conveniences exist. Gratitude for challenges is perhaps the most advanced practice, but it's also the most transformative. Every difficulty you face is also an opportunity to develop strength, wisdom, and resilience. Every person who challenges you is also teaching you something about yourself or others. Every setback is also a setup for a comeback, as the saying goes. When you can find genuine gratitude for your problems, not just despite them, but because of what they're teaching you and how they're shaping you, you become truly unstoppable. You're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You've found a way to extract value and meaning from any situation. One practice that can be incredibly powerful is writing gratitude letters to people who have impacted your life positively. This doesn't have to be sent, though it can be incredibly meaningful if you choose to share it. The act of deeply reflecting on how someone has contributed to your life and putting that appreciation into words creates profound positive emotions for both you and them if shared. The ultimate goal of gratitude practice is to shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. When you regularly focus on what you have rather than what you lack, your brain begins to perceive your life as rich and full rather than lacking and empty. This shift in perception changes everything. Your energy, your relationships, your opportunities, and your overall life satisfaction. You stop waiting for life to give you more before you allow yourself to be happy. You start appreciating what's already here. And, paradoxically, when you appreciate what you have, you naturally attract more good things into your life because you're vibrating at a frequency of abundance rather than lack. Chapter 5. Taking control of the voice in your head. Okay, let's talk about something that's happening right now as you're reading these words. There's a voice in your head. It's commenting on everything, analyzing, judging, planning, worrying. Maybe it's agreeing with what I'm saying. Maybe it's skeptical. Maybe it's thinking about what you need to do later today or replaying something that happened yesterday. This voice, this constant mental chatter, is the most powerful force in determining whether you're happy, or miserable. And for most people, it's their worst enemy. Here's a shocking statistic that might wake you up. The average person has somewhere between 50,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. And get this, for most people, up to 80% of these thoughts are negative, and 95% are repetitive. Think about what that means. Your brain is essentially a broken record player, spinning the same negative tracks over and over again. I'm not good enough. Things never work out for me. I should have done that differently. What if this goes wrong? Why did I say that stupid thing? Round and round, day after day, year after year. These thoughts create your emotions. Your emotions drive your behaviors, and your behaviors create your results. If you want to change your life, you absolutely must first change the conversation happening inside your head. But here's what most people don't realize, and this is going to change everything for you. That voice in your head, that's not you. You are the one listening to that voice. You are the awareness that notices the thoughts. This distinction is absolutely crucial because once you understand that you are not your thoughts, you can start choosing which thoughts to believe and which ones to let float by like clouds in the sky. Think about it this way. If you were your thoughts, who would be listening to them? If you were your thoughts, how could you disagree with them or change them? The fact that you can observe your thoughts, question them, and redirect them proves that there's a deeper you, the real you, that exists beyond the mental chatter. This realization is the beginning of mental freedom. When you stop identifying with every thought that pops into your head, you gain the power to consciously direct your thinking. You become the director of your mental movie instead of being a passive viewer watching whatever random scenes your mind decides to play. The first step in mastering your inner dialogue is becoming aware of it. Most people are so lost in their thoughts that they don't even realize they're thinking. They're completely unconscious of the stories they're telling themselves all day long. But you can't change what you're not aware of. So developing what's called metacognition, thinking about your thinking, is essential. Start paying attention to your thoughts without judging them. Just notice what your mind is doing. Are you criticizing yourself? Worrying about the future? Replaying past mistakes? Complaining about your circumstances? Most people are shocked when they first become aware of how relentlessly negative their inner dialogue actually is. Once you're aware of your thoughts, the next step is questioning them. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Your thoughts are often based on outdated beliefs, past experiences, fear, or conditioning from other people. They're not objective facts about reality. They're subjective interpretations that you can choose to accept or reject. Here's a powerful method for questioning thoughts that are causing you suffering. When a painful thought arises, ask yourself 4 questions. First, is it true? Second, can you absolutely know that it's true? Third, how do you react when you believe that thought? And fourth, who would you be without that thought? Let me walk you through an example with one of the most common painful thoughts people have. I'm not good enough. Is it true? Well, how do you define good enough? Compared to what standard? Good enough for what? Can you absolutely know that it's true? Probably not, because good enough is a subjective judgment, not an objective fact. How do you react when you believe that thought? You probably feel insecure, anxious, maybe even paralyzed. You might avoid challenges. You might procrastinate. You might not go after opportunities because you've already decided you're not good enough. Who would you be without that thought? You'd probably feel more confident, take more action, enjoy life more, and, ironically, achieve better results. This process reveals that many of your most painful thoughts aren't actually true, and believing them is completely optional. You can choose to let them go and replace them with more empowering thoughts. But changing your inner dialogue isn't just about eliminating negative thoughts. It's about consciously creating positive ones. This is where affirmations, when done correctly, become incredibly powerful. Most people think affirmations are silly because they try to convince themselves of things they don't believe. Saying, "I am wealthy," when you're broke, feels like lying to yourself, and your brain immediately rejects it. Effective affirmations work with your psychology, not against it. Instead of statements that feel false, use statements that feel possible and empowering. Instead of, "I am wealthy," try, "I am learning to make better financial decisions every day." Instead of, "I am confident," try, "I am becoming more confident with every challenge I face." Instead of, "I have the perfect relationship," try, "I am attracting healthier relationships into my life." The key is to create thoughts that feel authentic while directing your mind toward what you want to create. Your brain has this incredible system called the reticular activating system that filters information and focuses your attention on whatever you've determined is important. When you consistently think certain thoughts, your brain works to make those thoughts become reality by filtering your perception and directing your actions. Another powerful technique for mastering inner dialogue is reframing. This involves taking a negative thought and finding a more empowering way to interpret the same situation. Instead of, "This is too hard," try, "This is challenging, which means I'm growing." Instead of, "I can't handle this," try, "I'm learning to handle this." Instead of, "Why does this always happen to me?" try, "What can I learn from this situation?" Reframing doesn't change external reality, but it completely changes your internal experience of that reality. And your internal experience is what determines your emotional state, your energy level, and your ability to respond effectively to challenges. You can also use your inner dialogue to coach yourself the way a supportive mentor or friend would. Instead of being your own worst critic, become your own best supporter. Talk to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer to someone you deeply care about. When you make a mistake, instead of beating yourself up, ask yourself, "What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?" Ask yourself empowering questions throughout the day. What's the best thing that could happen here? How can I make this work? What would someone I admire do in this situation? What opportunity might be hidden in this challenge? Questions direct your focus and prime your brain to find solutions instead of dwelling on problems. The goal isn't to eliminate all negative thoughts. That's impossible and actually unnecessary. The goal is to stop believing and dwelling on thoughts that don't serve you, and to consciously create thoughts that empower you and move you toward your goals. Your inner dialogue can be either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. The choice is entirely yours. Chapter 6. The Secret to Relationships That Fill You Up. Here's a truth that's going to shift how you think about happiness forever. You cannot be consistently happy in isolation. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures, and the quality of your relationships is one of the single strongest predictors of your life satisfaction and overall well-being. Long-term research studies have found that good relationships keep us happier and healthier than anything else. Not money, not fame, not career success, relationships. The people in your life have more impact on your happiness than almost any other factor. But here's the thing that most people get completely wrong. Most people approach relationships with a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset. They focus on what they can get from others rather than what they can give. They try to control other people instead of controlling themselves. They expect others to make them happy instead of bringing their own happiness to the relationship. This backward approach creates endless drama, conflict, and disappointment. When you need others to behave in certain ways for you to feel good, you've given away your power. You've made your emotional state dependent on factors completely outside your control. And, ironically, this neediness and desperation pushes people away and creates the very rejection and loneliness you're trying to avoid. The relationship code for instant happiness flips this entire script. Instead of trying to get love, you focus on giving love freely. Instead of trying to be understood, you focus on understanding others deeply. Instead of trying to change people, you accept them exactly as they are while setting healthy boundaries for yourself. This shift in approach transforms every relationship in your life and creates a positive feedback loop that generates continuous happiness. Let's start with the absolute foundation of all healthy relationships: self-love. You genuinely cannot give what you don't have. If you don't have a loving relationship with yourself, you'll constantly seek validation and approval from others. This creates unhealthy dynamics where you either become a people pleaser who loses yourself in relationships, or you become demanding and critical when others inevitably fail to meet your impossible expectations. Self-love isn't about thinking you're perfect or better than others. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, patience, and understanding you would show to someone you deeply care about. It's about accepting your flaws while genuinely working to improve. It's about setting boundaries that protect your well-being. It's about speaking to yourself with encouragement rather than harsh criticism. When you truly love yourself, you bring a full cup to every relationship. You're not desperately looking for others to complete you because you already feel complete. You're not starving for attention because you give yourself attention and care. You're not terrified of rejection because Your self-worth doesn't depend on others' approval. This abundance mindset makes you incredibly attractive to healthy people and naturally repels toxic people. The next crucial component of the relationship code is radical acceptance. Most relationship problems stem from trying to change people. You think your partner would be perfect if they just did things differently. You think your friend would be better if they made different choices. You think your family members would be happier if they listened to your brilliant advice. But trying to change others is not only completely futile, it's relationship poison. It creates resentment, resistance, and distance. Radical acceptance means loving people exactly as they are right now, not as you think they should be or could become. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate behavior that genuinely hurts you. That's where boundaries come in, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it means you stop trying to fix, control, or improve others. People. You accept that everyone is on their own journey, making their own choices, and learning their own lessons at their own pace. This acceptance is incredibly liberating for both you and them. When people feel genuinely accepted rather than constantly judged, they relax. They show up more authentically. They feel safer being themselves around you. And when you stop trying to control others, you free up enormous mental and emotional energy to focus on what you can actually control: your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. You stop wasting energy trying to push a rope uphill and instead focus on becoming the person you want to be. Empathy is another absolutely crucial component of relationship happiness. Most people think they're good listeners, but they're actually just waiting for their turn to talk. They're mentally preparing their response or thinking about their own similar experience instead of truly understanding what the other person is feeling and experiencing. Real empathy involves putting yourself completely in someone else's shoes and feeling what they feel, not just intellectually understanding what they're saying. When you truly listen to understand rather than to respond, magical things happen in your relationships. People feel genuinely seen and heard, which is one of the deepest human needs. They open up more. They trust you more. They naturally want to spend more time with you. And here's the beautiful irony. When you focus entirely on understanding them, they become much more interested in understanding you. It's like a law of reciprocity. The more you give genuine attention and empathy, the more you receive it back. Boundaries are absolutely essential for relationship happiness. But most people completely misunderstand what boundaries actually are. Boundaries are not walls you build to keep people out, or ways to control others' behavior. Boundaries are guidelines you set for how you allow yourself to be treated, and what you will and won't accept in your life. You can't control others' behavior, but you can absolutely control your response to their behavior. Healthy boundaries involve clearly communicating your needs and following through with consequences when those needs aren't respected. This might mean ending conversations when someone becomes verbally abusive. It might mean limiting time with people who consistently drain your energy or bring constant negativity. It might mean saying a firm no to requests that compromise your well-being or values. Setting boundaries feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been conditioned to prioritize others' comfort over your own well-being. But boundaries actually improve relationships over time by creating clarity and mutual respect. They prevent resentment from building up like toxic waste. They ensure that your relationships are based on authentic choice rather than guilt or obligation. Gratitude and appreciation are relationship superpowers that most people drastically underutilize. Everyone wants to feel valued and appreciated. It's a fundamental human need. But most people take their loved ones completely for granted. They focus on what's wrong, what's annoying, what's not working, rather than acknowledging and celebrating what's right. When you consistently express genuine appreciation for the people in your life, you create a positive atmosphere that makes everyone happier, including you. You can appreciate someone's efforts even when the results aren't perfect. You can acknowledge their good intentions even when their execution falls short. You can express gratitude for their presence in your life even during difficult times or conflicts. The final component of the relationship code is contribution and service. The happiest people are those who focus on what they can give rather than what they can get. They actively look for ways to add value to others' lives. They offer genuine support during difficult times without keeping score. They celebrate others' successes with authentic joy rather than jealousy or comparison. When you approach relationships from a place of service rather than selfishness, you create deep connections that nourish your soul. You become the kind of person that others are genuinely grateful to have in their lives. And paradoxically, when you stop desperately trying to get love and start giving love freely without attachment to outcomes, you receive more love and connection than you ever imagined possible. Chapter 7. Your body is your happiness superpower. Your body and your mind aren't separate systems operating independently. They are one integrated, interconnected system. And what affects one immediately and powerfully affects the other. This means that your physical state has a direct, measurable influence on your emotional state. Most people try to think their way to happiness while completely ignoring their body. But here's the truth. The fastest, most reliable way to change how you feel emotionally is often to change how you move physically. This isn't just motivational fluff. This is hard, proven science backed by thousands of studies. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. These are the exact same chemicals that antidepressant medications are designed to increase in your brain. In fact, numerous research studies have shown that regular exercise is just as effective as medication for treating mild to moderate depression, and it has zero negative side effects. Zero. But the body-mind connection goes so much deeper than just exercise. Your posture directly affects your confidence levels. Your breathing patterns directly affect your anxiety levels. Your facial expressions actually affect your mood. Even the way you walk can influence how optimistic or pessimistic you feel moment to moment. When you understand these connections, you gain access to instant tools for shifting your emotional state whenever you need to. Let's start with posture, one of the most underestimated factors in emotional well-being. Research on body language has revealed that standing in confident positions for just 2 minutes increases testosterone by about 20% and decreases cortisol, your stress hormone, by about 25%. Testosterone is associated with confidence and assertiveness, while cortisol makes you feel anxious and overwhelmed. This means that simply changing your physical posture can literally change your brain chemistry within minutes. When you stand tall with your shoulders back, chest open, and head held high, your brain interprets these physical signals as indicators that you're confident and capable. It then adjusts your emotional state to match your physical state. Most people do the exact opposite. They slouch when they feel insecure, which makes them feel even more insecure. They hunch their shoulders forward when stressed, which increases their stress. They look down at the ground when sad, which deepens their sadness. It's a vicious cycle. But you can reverse this cycle instantly by consciously adopting confident, open postures, even when you don't initially feel confident. Breathing is another incredibly powerful tool for emotional regulation that most people never learn to use properly. Your breath is the only part of your autonomic nervous system that you can consciously control, and it's directly connected to your emotional state. When you're anxious or stressed, your breathing automatically becomes shallow and rapid. When you're calm and relaxed, your breathing naturally becomes deep and slow. But here's the key insight that changes everything. You can use your breathing intentionally to create the emotional state you want, rather than just reflecting the state you're already in. When you deliberately slow down and deepen your breathing, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the rest and digest response. This immediately reduces stress hormones circulating in your body and increases feelings of calm and well-being. One of the most effective breathing techniques for instant emotional regulation is called box breathing or tactical breathing. This involves breathing in for a count of 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, and holding for 4. This simple pattern synchronizes your heart rate and creates a state of physiological coherence that optimizes both mental and emotional function. Movement is medicine for the mind. When you move your body with energy and purpose, you're sending powerful signals to your brain that you're alive, capable, and ready for action. This is why people who exercise regularly are significantly less likely to experience depression and anxiety. It's also why even short bursts of movement can instantly shift your mood and energy. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic or spend hours at the gym to harness this power. Simple movements throughout the day can be incredibly effective. When you feel stuck, negative, or low energy, try doing jumping jacks for 30 seconds, doing 10 push-ups, or just dancing energetically to your favorite song for 2 minutes. The physical activity will change your brain chemistry almost immediately and give you a completely fresh perspective on whatever challenge you're dealing with. The type of movement matters too. Rhythmic, repetitive movements like walking, running, swimming, or dancing are particularly effective for processing emotions and reducing stress. These activities engage both hemispheres of your brain and activate networks associated with creative problem solving and emotional integration. Your facial expressions also have a direct, measurable impact on your emotional state through what scientists call the facial feedback hypothesis. When you smile, even if it's initially forced or fake, your brain receives signals from your facial muscles and interprets them as indicators that you must be happy. This triggers the release of mood-boosting chemicals and actually makes you feel better. This works because your brain uses your facial expressions as information about how you should be feeling. If you're smiling, your brain assumes you must be happy about something. If you're frowning, your brain assumes you must be upset. You can use this biological mechanism to your advantage by consciously adopting positive facial expressions, especially during challenging times. Sleep is perhaps the single most crucial factor in the body-mind happiness connection. Sleep deprivation has essentially the same effect on your emotional regulation as being drunk. When you're sleep deprived, the amygdala, your brain's alarm system, becomes hyperactive and overreactive. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, becomes impaired. This means that everything feels exponentially harder when you're tired. Small problems seem like catastrophic disasters. Minor irritations feel like major crises. You're much more likely to make poor decisions, say things you regret, and react emotionally rather than responding thoughtfully and wisely. On the flip side, when you're well rested, you're naturally more optimistic, resilient, and emotionally stable. Most people sacrifice sleep for productivity, thinking they're being efficient, but this is incredibly counterproductive. Quality sleep isn't a luxury or an indulgence. It's an absolute necessity for optimal mental and emotional function. Nutrition also plays a crucial role in your emotional state that most people never consider. Your brain consumes about 20% of your daily calories, and what you eat directly affects how you think and feel. Foods high in refined sugar and processed ingredients create energy spikes and crashes that destabilize your mood throughout the day. Meanwhile, foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, complex carbohydrates, lean proteins, and antioxidants support stable mood and optimal cognitive function. The gut-brain connection is particularly important here. Your gut produces about 90% of your body's serotonin, the neurotransmitter that regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. When your gut health is compromised, your mental health inevitably suffers. The key to harnessing the body-mind connection is becoming conscious of how your physical state affects your emotional state and using this knowledge strategically. When you feel down or anxious, ask yourself, how is my posture right now? How am I breathing? When did I last move my body? Am I well rested? Am I properly hydrated? Have I eaten nutritious food today? Often, addressing these physical factors will automatically improve the emotional factors without you having to do any mental or psychological work at all. Chapter 8. Creating Meaning When Life Feels Meaningless. One of the most profound insights about human happiness comes from understanding that it's not dependent on your circumstances. It's dependent on the meaning you assign to your circumstances. Life doesn't give you meaning. You create meaning from whatever life gives you. Most people wait passively for life to provide them with meaning. They think meaning will come from external sources, the right job, the right relationship, the right achievements, the right circumstances finally falling into place. But meaning isn't something you find lying around. It's something you actively create. And the ability to create meaning from any situation, especially difficult situations, is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining happiness when life gets hard. The search for meaning is absolutely fundamental to human psychology. When your life feels meaningful, you can endure almost any level of suffering or difficulty. When your life feels meaningless, even minor inconveniences become unbearable. This is why some people thrive despite facing enormous challenges and hardships, while others fall completely apart over relatively minor setbacks. The difference isn't in their circumstances, it's in their ability to find or create meaning in their experiences. Meaning comes from three primary sources: purpose, significance, and growth. Purpose is about having something important to work toward, a reason for getting up in the morning, a sense that your life is moving in a meaningful direction. Significance is about feeling that your life matters, that you make some kind of difference, that your existence has genuine value. Growth is about continuously becoming a better version of yourself, learning from your experiences, and developing your potential over time. When all three elements are present in your life, you experience what psychologists call eudaimonic well-being, a deep sense of fulfillment that goes far beyond temporary pleasure or fleeting happiness. This type of well-being is much more stable and enduring than hedonic well-being, which depends on external circumstances and tends to fade quickly. Here's the beautiful thing. Purpose doesn't have to be grandiose or world-changing. It doesn't have to be your career or some massive life mission. Purpose can be found in being a loving parent who raises good humans. Purpose can be found in creating art that moves people. Purpose can be found in helping your local community. Purpose can be found in learning new skills and sharing knowledge. Purpose can be found in simply being a consistently positive, supportive presence in others' lives. The key is that it feels genuinely meaningful to you personally and connects you to something larger than just yourself and your immediate wants and needs. Many people struggle to find their purpose because they think it should be obvious, or that they should feel immediately passionate about it. But purpose is often discovered through action and experimentation, not through endless contemplation. You find your purpose by trying different things, paying close attention to what energizes you versus what drains you, and noticing where your natural talents and genuine interests intersect with the world's actual needs. There's a beautiful concept that illustrates this perfectly. The intersection of what you love, what you're naturally good at, what the world genuinely needs, and what you can potentially be compensated for. You don't necessarily need all four elements to find meaning, but the more elements you can align, the stronger and more sustainable your sense of purpose becomes. Significance is about feeling that your life has real impact and that you genuinely matter. This doesn't require fame or recognition from thousands of people. Significance can come from knowing that you've helped one person through a genuinely difficult time. Significance can come from raising children who contribute positively to the world. Significance can come from creating something beautiful that touches people's hearts. Significance can come from making your small corner of the world a little bit better than you found it. One of the most reliable ways to create significance is through service to others. When you contribute to something beyond yourself and your immediate self-interest, you automatically create meaning. This might involve volunteering your time, mentoring someone younger, caring for family members who need help, or simply being genuinely kind and helpful in your daily interactions with strangers. The act of service itself creates a profound sense of connection and purpose that generates deep, lasting satisfaction. Growth and continuous learning are also fundamental sources of meaning. Human beings are naturally designed to grow, learn, and evolve throughout their entire lives. When you're actively developing your skills, expanding your knowledge, or working consciously to become a better person, you feel genuinely alive and deeply engaged with life. Stagnation, on the other hand, leads directly to feelings of emptiness, boredom, and depression. This is why challenges, while undeniably difficult and painful, can actually be powerful sources of meaning and unexpected happiness. Every obstacle you successfully overcome makes you objectively stronger. Every new skill you develop expands your capabilities and confidence. Every setback teaches you something valuable if you're willing to learn from it. When you consciously reframe difficulties as opportunities for growth rather than just obstacles to overcome, you transform suffering into significance. You extract meaning and value from painful experiences. Research shows that many people who experience significant trauma or adversity actually end up stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled than they were before the difficult experience. They develop deeper, more authentic relationships. They develop stronger spiritual or philosophical beliefs. They develop greater appreciation for life and what truly matters. They develop increased confidence in their ability to handle whatever challenges come their way. This doesn't mean that trauma is good or that suffering is necessary for growth. But it does mean that when difficult things inevitably happen, you have the power to extract profound meaning and genuine value from the experience. You can use adversity as raw material for building resilience, wisdom, and compassion, rather than just letting it destroy you. Chapter 9. Transforming your emotions into rocket fuel. Most people treat their negative emotions like dangerous enemies that need to be destroyed or locked away in a vault. They try desperately to suppress anger, run away from sadness, eliminate fear, and escape anxiety at all costs. But here's what I need you to understand. This approach doesn't just fail, it actually makes everything worse. What you resist doesn't just persist, it grows stronger and more insistent. The real secret to emotional mastery isn't eliminating negative emotions. That's impossible, and frankly, it would be a terrible idea even if you could do it. The secret is learning to transform negative emotions into sources of power, wisdom, and energy. I call this process emotional transformation, and it's borrowed from the principle of redirecting energy rather than fighting against it. In emotional transformation, you don't battle your feelings like they're your enemies. You flow with them like a skilled dancer. You don't suppress them and pretend they don't exist. You harness them and use their energy productively. You don't judge them as good or bad, positive or negative. You use them as valuable information and powerful fuel. Here's the truth that's going to set you free. Every emotion, even the ones that feel absolutely terrible, serves a genuine purpose. Emotions are your internal guidance system, providing you with critical information about your environment, your relationships, your needs, and your values. When you learn to decode emotional energy and redirect it strategically, you gain access to incredible power and wisdom that most people never discover. Let's start with anger, one of the most misunderstood and feared emotions. Most people see anger as entirely negative, something dangerous that needs to be controlled or completely eliminated. But anger is actually a powerful signal that something important to you is being threatened or violated. It's your internal alarm system alerting you to injustice, boundary violations, or critical unmet needs. The problem isn't anger itself. The problem is what most people do with anger. They either explode outward like a volcano, damaging relationships and creating even more problems, or they implode inward, turning that anger into vicious self-criticism and eventually depression. But there's a third option that changes everything: transforming anger into constructive, focused action. When you feel anger rising in your chest, instead of asking, "How can I get rid of this awful feeling?" ask yourself, "What is this anger trying to tell me? What does it want me to know or do?" Often, anger is pointing you directly towards something that desperately needs to change. Maybe someone is taking advantage of you and you need to set firm boundaries. Maybe you're tolerating something you absolutely shouldn't tolerate. Maybe you need to advocate strongly for yourself or others who can't speak up. Anger contains enormous, concentrated energy that can fuel positive change when you channel it correctly instead of letting it control you. Some of the greatest social movements and reforms in history were powered by righteous anger about injustice and unfairness. Some of the most important personal transformations begin with anger about unacceptable situations that you finally refuse to tolerate anymore. The key is to feel the anger fully, completely, without immediately acting on it. Let the emotion move through your body like a wave. Notice where you feel it physically. Is it in your chest, your jaw, your hands? Breathe deeply and allow the intensity to peak naturally, and then gradually subside. Once you're no longer in the grip of the raw emotion, you can use its message and energy to take appropriate, strategic action. Fear is another emotion that most people completely misinterpret. Fear feels terrible, uncomfortable, threatening, so people naturally assume it's entirely negative and should be avoided. But fear is actually your brain's way of trying to protect you. It's alerting you to potential danger so you can respond appropriately and keep yourself safe. The problem is that in our modern world, your fear system often overreacts dramatically to situations that aren't actually dangerous. Your brain can't tell the difference between a genuine physical threat and the possibility of social embarrassment. It treats them exactly the same. But here's the fascinating part. Fear also consistently points you toward genuine growth opportunities. Often, the things you're most afraid of are the exact things that would most transform your life if you actually did them. Fear of rejection keeps you from pursuing meaningful relationships that could change your life. Fear of failure keeps you from taking career risks that could lead to breakthrough success. Fear of judgment keeps you from expressing your authentic self and finding your real tribe. When you consciously reframe fear as excitement, everything shifts dramatically. Fear and excitement create almost identical physical sensations: increased heart rate, heightened alertness, energy surging through your body, butterflies in your stomach. The only real difference is your mental interpretation of these sensations. When you tell yourself, "I'm excited about this opportunity," instead of, "I'm scared and want to run away," you literally transform fear energy into performance energy. This technique, called anxiety reappraisal, has been proven effective in numerous research studies. People who reframe their anxiety as excitement perform significantly better on tests, give more confident presentations, and take more productive risks that lead to success. You're not trying to eliminate the physical sensation or make it disappear. You're simply changing what it means to you. You're choosing a more empowering interpretation of the exact same physiological response. Sadness is perhaps the most avoided emotion in an entire culture. People will do almost anything to avoid feeling genuinely sad. They stay frantically busy with distractions. They medicate themselves with substances, food, or shopping. They numb themselves with endless entertainment. They rush immediately into new relationships to avoid feeling the pain of loss. But sadness serves an absolutely crucial function in emotional health and healing. Sadness is your psyche's natural way of processing loss and integrating difficult experiences into your life story. When you avoid sadness and refuse to feel it, you prevent yourself from fully healing and authentically moving forward. Unprocessed grief and sadness get stored in your body and mind, creating chronic emotional and even physical problems that can last for years or decades. The transformative power of sadness lies in its ability to deepen your capacity for compassion, both for yourself and for others. People who have fully experienced and processed their own sadness become significantly more empathetic, understanding, and emotionally intelligent. They develop what researchers call emotional granularity, the sophisticated ability to distinguish between subtle emotional states and respond to them appropriately. Sadness also reveals and connects you to what matters most in your life. You don't feel sad about losing things you don't genuinely care about. Sadness shows you your deepest values and true priorities. It illuminates what deserves your time, energy, and attention. When you honor your sadness instead of running from it or trying to skip over it, you gain profound clarity about what's truly important in your life. Anxiety, while extremely uncomfortable, often contains critically important information about areas of your life that need your attention. Sometimes anxiety is your intuition alerting you to real problems that need to be addressed before they become crises. Sometimes it's your mind's way of preparing you mentally and physically for important challenges ahead. Sometimes it's a clear signal that you're not living in alignment with your core values. Instead of trying desperately to eliminate anxiety, you can use it strategically as a catalyst for positive action. Anxious energy, when channeled properly, can fuel thorough preparation, careful planning, and effective problem solving. When you redirect anxiety into productive activities instead of letting it spin uselessly in your mind, you often discover that taking concrete action reduces the anxiety naturally. Jealousy and envy, while painful and often shameful to admit, can reveal vitally important information about your deepest desires and core values. When you feel jealous of someone, you are often seeing something you genuinely want for yourself, but haven't admitted or pursued. Instead of judging these uncomfortable feelings harshly, you can use them as valuable guidance about what you want to create in your own life. The practice of emotional transformation involves several key principles that you need to internalize. First, you absolutely must feel emotions fully rather than avoiding or suppressing them. Emotions are literally energy in motion, and they need to move through your system completely to be processed and released. When you block emotions or stuff them down, you create energetic stagnation that manifests as physical tension, mental fog, and emotional numbness. Second, you must learn to separate the raw emotion from the story you create about it. Emotions are temporary physiological responses, chemical reactions in your body that naturally arise and pass. Stories are the meanings you attach to those responses, the narratives you construct about what they mean. You can feel angry without believing that someone is deliberately trying to hurt you. You can feel sad without believing that you're a helpless victim. You can feel afraid without believing that you're in genuine danger. Third, you must actively look for the gift hidden in every emotion you experience. What is this feeling trying to teach you? What action is it trying to motivate? What need is it highlighting? What value is it protecting? When you approach emotions with genuine curiosity rather than harsh judgment, you discover that they're all trying to help you in some way, even when they feel awful. Chapter 10: The Biology of Unshakable Happiness. Your happiness isn't just about mindset, psychology, and positive thinking. It's also fundamentally about biology, chemistry, and how your physical body functions. Your brain is a biological organ, just like your heart or your liver. And like any organ, it needs specific conditions to function optimally and produce the emotional states you want to experience. When you ignore the biological foundations of well-being, you're essentially trying to build a skyscraper on quicksand. It might look good temporarily, but it's not sustainable. But when you optimize your biology first, You create the ideal foundation for sustained happiness regardless of external circumstances. You're working with your body instead of fighting against it. Most people approach happiness exclusively from the top down, trying to think their way into better feelings through willpower and positive affirmations. But the bottom-up approach, optimizing your biology first, is often far more effective and certainly more sustainable long-term. When your brain chemistry is balanced, your hormones are optimized, and your nervous system is properly regulated, positive emotions arise naturally and effortlessly. You're not forcing anything. You're creating the conditions for happiness to emerge organically. Let's start with sleep, which is absolutely the foundation of all well-being. Sleep isn't just rest or downtime when nothing important happens. It's when your brain literally cleans itself through a process called the glymphatic system. During deep sleep stages, your brain flushes out toxic proteins and metabolic waste that accumulate during your waking hours. This includes harmful substances associated with neurological problems and cognitive decline. Sleep also consolidates important memories, processes complex emotions, and restores critical neurotransmitter balance throughout your brain. When you're chronically sleep-deprived, your brain simply cannot perform these essential maintenance functions properly. This is why sleep deprivation has essentially the same effect on your mood and cognitive function as clinical depression. Your emotional regulation completely breaks down when you're tired. Your stress response becomes hyperactive and overreactive to minor triggers. Your ability to experience positive emotions diminishes significantly. Everything feels harder, more overwhelming, more threatening when you haven't slept enough. Most people need somewhere between 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night for optimal function. But quality is just as important as quantity, if not more so. Deep sleep and REM sleep are particularly crucial for emotional well-being and mental health. Deep sleep is when your brain releases growth hormone and consolidates important memories. REM sleep is when you process emotions and integrate experiences into your understanding of yourself and the world. To optimize your sleep quality, you need to understand and work with your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock that regulates sleep-wake cycles. This rhythm is primarily controlled by light exposure at specific times. Morning sunlight exposure signals your brain to be alert and suppresses melatonin production. Evening darkness triggers melatonin release and prepares your body for restorative sleep. Most people completely sabotage their natural circadian rhythm with artificial light exposure, especially blue light from screens in the evening hours. This suppresses melatonin production and makes it significantly harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Creating a consistent sleep schedule, getting bright morning sunlight exposure, and minimizing blue light in the evening can dramatically improve both sleep quality and daytime mood. Nutrition plays an absolutely crucial role in brain chemistry and emotional well-being that most people never consider. Your brain consumes roughly 20% of your total daily calories, despite being only about 2% of your body weight. It requires specific nutrients to produce neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that regulate your mood, energy, focus, and emotional state. When you're deficient in key nutrients, your brain simply cannot produce adequate levels of serotonin, dopamine, and other mood-regulating chemicals, no matter how positive your thinking is. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, found in fatty fish and high-quality fish oil, are essential for optimal brain health and mood regulation. Studies consistently show that people with depression often have significantly low levels of omega-3s, and supplementation can be as effective as antidepressant medication for many people. B vitamins, especially B6, B12, and folate, are crucial for neurotransmitter synthesis and function. Deficiencies in these vitamins are strongly associated with depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. Magnesium is another critical nutrient that most people don't get nearly enough of through diet alone. Magnesium deficiency can directly cause anxiety, insomnia, irritability, and mood instability. The timing and composition of your meals also significantly affects your mood and energy levels throughout the day. Eating large meals causes blood sugar spikes and subsequent crashes that destabilize your mood and energy. Skipping meals entirely can trigger stress responses that make you irritable, anxious, and unable to focus. Eating balanced meals with adequate protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates every 3 to 4 hours helps maintain stable blood sugar and consistent mood. The gut-brain connection is particularly important and often overlooked for emotional well-being. Your gut produces approximately 90% of your body's serotonin, and the health of your gut microbiome directly affects your mental health in profound ways. An imbalanced gut microbiome, often caused by poor diet, chronic stress, or antibiotic use, can contribute significantly to anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha contain beneficial bacteria that support gut health and improve mood. Prebiotic foods like garlic, onions, asparagus, and bananas feed the beneficial bacteria already living in your gut. Avoiding processed foods, excessive sugar, and artificial additives helps maintain a healthy, diverse gut microbiome that supports mental health. Exercise is perhaps the single most powerful tool available for optimizing brain chemistry and elevating mood naturally. When you exercise, your body releases endorphins, which are natural mood elevators that create feelings of well-being. Exercise also increases levels of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which promotes the growth of brand new brain cells and protects existing ones from damage and decline. Different types of exercise affect your brain chemistry in different beneficial ways. Cardiovascular exercise, like running, cycling, or swimming, increases endorphin production dramatically and reduces stress hormones. Strength training boosts testosterone and growth hormone, which improve confidence, energy, and motivation. Practices like yoga and Tai Chi activate the parasympathetic nervous system and promote deep relaxation and stress relief. The key is finding forms of movement that you genuinely enjoy and can sustain consistently long-term. Even 20 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days of the week can significantly improve mood, reduce anxiety, and build resilience. High-intensity interval training can be particularly effective for boosting mood and energy in shorter time periods if you're pressed for time. Your breathing patterns directly affect your nervous system state and emotional experience in real time. When you're stressed or anxious, your breathing automatically becomes shallow and rapid, which activates your sympathetic nervous system and increases stress hormones circulating in your bloodstream. When you're calm and relaxed, your breathing naturally becomes deep and slow, which activates your parasympathetic nervous system and promotes healing and restoration. You can use conscious breathing techniques to shift your nervous system state almost instantly. Techniques like box breathing, coherent breathing, and the physiological sigh can quickly reduce stress, calm anxiety, and improve mood within minutes. Regular breathwork practice can also improve your baseline stress resilience and emotional regulation capacity over time. Understanding these biological foundations allows you to create a truly comprehensive approach to happiness that addresses both mind and body as the integrated system they actually are. When you optimize your sleep, nutrition, exercise, and breathing, you create the ideal biological conditions for sustained well-being and genuine emotional resilience. Chapter 11. Building Bulletproof Mental Strength. Life is going to test you. That's not a maybe or a possibility, it's an absolute guarantee. Life will knock you down, disappoint you, break your heart, and challenge everything you believe about yourself and the world. The only real question is whether you'll have the mental resilience to bounce back stronger than before, or whether you'll stay down. Resilience isn't something you're born with or without, like eye color or height. It's a skill you can deliberately develop through practice. And once you master it, you become virtually unstoppable. Not because bad things stop happening to you, but because you develop the inner strength to handle whatever comes your way. Most people think resilience means being tough, emotionless, or unaffected by difficulties. But true resilience is actually the opposite. It's the ability to feel deeply, be genuinely affected by challenges, and still maintain your core strength and optimism. It's like a tree that bends dramatically in the storm, but doesn't break, that loses all its leaves in winter, but grows them back even stronger in spring. The foundation of mental resilience is what psychologists call cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt your thinking when circumstances change dramatically. Rigid thinking leads to rigid responses, which often make problems significantly worse. Flexible thinking allows you to find creative solutions, see unexpected opportunities in obstacles, and maintain genuine hope even in genuinely difficult situations. Cognitive flexibility starts with understanding that your first automatic interpretation of any situation is not necessarily the most accurate or helpful one available to you. Your brain is designed to make quick, snap judgments based on limited information, past experiences, and ingrained patterns. But these instant judgments are often heavily biased by fear, negative past experiences, or destructive thinking patterns. Resilient people have learned to pause before reacting and consider alternative interpretations. When something bad happens, they ask themselves powerful questions. What else could this mean? What opportunities might this create? What important lessons might this teach me? How might this redirect me towards something better? What strengths might this help me develop that I wouldn't have developed otherwise? These questions don't deny the reality of the difficulty or pretend everything is fine when it's not, but they help you find genuinely empowering ways to respond to challenges instead of just feeling like a helpless victim. Another crucial component of resilience is what researchers call realistic optimism. This isn't blind positivity, toxic positivity, or denial of real problems. It's the ability to see situations accurately and honestly while maintaining genuine hope that things can improve through your actions. Realistic optimists acknowledge current challenges fully while believing deeply in their ability to overcome them eventually. This type of optimism is based on actual evidence and consistent action, not just wishful thinking or empty affirmations. You develop realistic optimism by building a personal track record of overcoming difficulties, learning valuable lessons from setbacks, and gradually expanding your capabilities through challenges. Resilient people also have what psychologists call an internal locus of control. They believe that their actions and choices have a significant impact on their outcomes. This doesn't mean they think they can control everything that happens to them, which would be delusional. But they focus intensely on what they can influence, rather than feeling helpless about what they can't control. When faced with adversity, people with an internal locus of control ask solution-focused questions like, "What can I do about this? How can I influence this situation? What's within my power to change? What can I learn from this experience? How can I prepare better for next time?" This mindset keeps them focused on solutions and possibilities rather than dwelling endlessly on problems and limitations. The practice of reframing is absolutely essential for building genuine resilience. Reframing involves changing the meaning you assign to events without changing the objective facts. A job loss can be reframed as an opportunity to find better, more fulfilling work. A relationship ending can be reframed as a chance to find someone more compatible. A health challenge can be reframed as powerful motivation to finally take better care of yourself. Effective reframing requires you to actively look for authentic, positive aspects of difficult situations. This isn't about pretending bad things are good or denying real pain and difficulty. It's about finding genuine benefits, valuable lessons, or unexpected opportunities that exist alongside the challenges. There's almost always something valuable to extract from any experience if you're willing to look for it with an open mind. Building mental resilience also requires developing what researchers call distress tolerance, ability to experience difficult emotions without being completely overwhelmed by them or making impulsive decisions to escape them. Many people lack sufficient distress tolerance, which is why they turn to addictions, constant distractions, or destructive behaviors when life gets hard. Distress tolerance is built gradually through exposure to manageable levels of discomfort. This might involve staying with difficult emotions instead of immediately trying to fix or escape them. It might involve taking on challenging projects that push your limits and stretch your capabilities. It might involve having difficult conversations you've been avoiding out of fear or discomfort. The goal isn't to seek out suffering for its own sake. The goal is to build unshakable confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. When you know, deep in your bones, that you can survive difficult emotions and challenging situations, you become much more willing to take meaningful risks, pursue ambitious goals, and live authentically. Chapter 12. Creating Habits That Generate Automatic Happiness. Your life is essentially the sum total of your habits. What you do consistently, day after day, determines your health, your relationships, your success, and, most importantly, your baseline happiness level. Most people leave their habits to chance, unconsciously developing patterns that create stress, negativity, and dissatisfaction. But when you consciously design habits that generate positive emotions and well-being, you create a life where happiness becomes automatic rather than accidental. The power of habits lies in their automaticity. Habits bypass conscious decision-making and run on autopilot, which means they don't require willpower or motivation to maintain. This is absolutely crucial because willpower is a limited resource that gets depleted throughout the day by decision fatigue. If you rely on willpower to make yourself happy, you'll only be happy when you're feeling strong and motivated, which isn't very often. But when happiness is built directly into your daily habits, it happens automatically, regardless of how you feel in any given moment. Understanding the science of habit formation is essential for creating lasting change. Every habit follows the same basic neurological pattern: cue, routine, reward. The cue triggers the behavior. The routine is the behavior itself, and the reward is the benefit you get from doing it. Your brain forms habits by creating neural pathways that make this entire sequence automatic. The key to building happiness habits is designing them so that the reward is immediate and intrinsic, rather than delayed and external. Many people try to build habits based purely on long-term rewards, like exercising to lose weight eventually, or reading to become smarter someday. But your brain responds far more strongly to immediate rewards that you can feel right now. If the habit doesn't feel good in the moment, it simply won't stick long-term. Let's start with morning happiness habits, which set the emotional tone for your entire day. The first hour after you wake up is when your brain is most programmable and receptive. Your brain waves are still in a relaxed state, and you haven't yet been bombarded with external demands and stressors. This makes it the absolutely perfect time to install positive programming. A simple but incredibly powerful morning happiness habit is a 3-minute gratitude practice. Before you check your phone or think about your overwhelming to-do list, spend just 3 minutes thinking about specific things you're genuinely grateful for. Feel the emotion of appreciation in your chest and body. Don't just mechanically think the thoughts. This brief practice primes your brain to automatically notice more positive aspects of your day and starts a positive emotional cascade. Throughout the day, micro habits can create continuous boosts to your well-being. These are tiny behaviors that take less than 2 minutes, but have cumulative positive effects over time. Taking 3 deep breaths before meals helps you eat more mindfully and digest better. Smiling at yourself in the mirror for 5 seconds boosts confidence and mood instantly. Genuinely complimenting someone activates your brain's reward centers. Standing up and stretching every hour prevents energy crashes and maintains alertness. The habit of conscious appreciation can transform ordinary moments into sources of unexpected joy. This involves deliberately noticing and appreciating simple pleasures throughout your day. The taste of your morning coffee, the feeling of warm water in the shower, the beauty of sunlight through a window, the sound of genuine laughter, the comfort of your bed at night. When you train yourself to notice these moments consistently, you realize that opportunities for happiness are literally everywhere, all the time, just waiting for you to pay attention to them. Chapter 13: Protecting Your Energy from People Who Drain You. Not all people are good for your well-being. Let me be completely honest with you about something that most people are too polite to say out loud. Some people, no matter how much you care about them or how long you've known them, consistently drain your energy, dampen your mood, and undermine your happiness. These energy drainers can be family members, longtime friends, colleagues, or even romantic partners. Learning to identify these people and protect yourself from their negative influence is absolutely essential for maintaining your emotional well-being and creating a life filled with genuine joy and positivity. And before you think I'm being harsh or unloving, hear me out. This isn't about being selfish or cold-hearted. This is about recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Energy drainers aren't necessarily bad people, though some certainly can be toxic or manipulative. Often, they're people who are struggling deeply with their own issues, but haven't learned healthy ways to cope with their pain. They unconsciously seek to feel better by drawing energy from others through constant complaining, creating unnecessary drama, or demanding excessive attention and support without ever reciprocating. The problem is that many people, especially those with empathetic and caring personalities, feel obligated to absorb others' negative energy and try desperately to fix their problems. They think they're being helpful, loving, or supportive, but they're actually enabling destructive patterns while simultaneously sacrificing their own well-being. Here's the hard truth. You cannot save people from themselves, and trying to do so often hurts both you and them in the long run. Recognizing energy drainers requires paying close attention to how you feel before, during, and after interacting with different people in your life. Energy givers leave you feeling uplifted, inspired, energized, and hopeful. Energy drainers leave you feeling exhausted, heavy, depleted, and sometimes even depressed. If you consistently feel worse after spending time with someone, regardless of your affection for them or your history together, they're likely an energy drainer. Common types of energy drainers include the chronic complainer, who sees problems and obstacles in absolutely everything, but never takes any action to improve their situation. They want to vent endlessly about everything that's wrong, but they're not actually interested in solutions or making changes. They use you as an emotional dumping ground, expecting you to absorb their negativity without offering anything positive in return. The drama creator thrives on conflict and chaos. They're always involved in some crisis or emergency, usually of their own making, and they desperately want you to get involved in their drama. They may gossip constantly about others, stir up trouble between people, or create unnecessary conflict in situations that could easily be peaceful and harmonious. The victim has a ready story about how everyone and everything is against them. They take absolutely no responsibility for their circumstances and blame external factors for all their problems and unhappiness. They're addicted to sympathy and will actively reject any suggestion that they have power to change their situation, because that would require them to give up their victim identity. The narcissist makes every single conversation about themselves. They're genuinely not interested in your thoughts, feelings, or experiences, except as they relate directly to them. They may be charming and entertaining on the surface, but the relationship is entirely one-sided. You're just an audience for their performance. The guilt tripper uses emotional manipulation to get what they want from you. They make you feel responsible for their emotions and happiness, using phrases like, "If you really cared about me, you would," or "You're the only one who understands me." They exploit your kindness and natural empathy for their own benefit without considering your needs. Protecting yourself from energy drainers requires setting and consistently enforcing clear, firm boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls built to keep people out permanently. They're healthy guidelines for how you allow yourself to be treated and what you will and won't accept in your life. You have every right to protect your emotional well-being, and setting boundaries is not selfish. It's absolutely necessary for your mental health. The first step in boundary setting is recognizing that you cannot change other people, no matter how hard you try or how much you care. You can only change how you respond to them. Stop trying to fix, rescue, or change energy drainers. Stop taking responsibility for their emotions or their problems. Stop allowing their mood to automatically determine your mood. Practical boundary setting techniques include limiting the time you spend with certain energy drainers. You might decide to see certain family members only at large gatherings rather than one-on-one, where they can drain you more intensely. You might limit phone conversations to specific time periods. You might strategically avoid certain topics of conversation that always lead to negativity and conflict. Physical boundaries are sometimes absolutely necessary for your well-being. This might mean leaving a room or situation when someone becomes abusive or manipulative. It might mean hanging up the phone when a conversation becomes toxic. It might mean blocking someone on social media who consistently posts negative, triggering content. Emotional boundaries involve not absorbing others' emotions as your own. Just because someone is upset doesn't mean you have to be upset. Just because someone is anxious doesn't mean you have to feel anxious. You can be compassionate and caring without taking on their emotional burden as if it were your own responsibility. The key to maintaining boundaries successfully is absolute consistency. Energy drainers will test your boundaries repeatedly, especially when you first start setting them. They may escalate their behavior dramatically, guilt-trip you mercilessly, or accuse you of being mean, selfish, or uncaring. This is completely normal and temporary. If you remain consistent and firm, they'll eventually accept your boundaries or remove themselves from your life. Sometimes protecting your energy requires ending relationships entirely, which is never easy, but sometimes absolutely necessary. This is especially difficult with family members or long-term friends. But sometimes it's essential for your mental health and overall well-being. You have the right to remove people from your life who consistently harm your emotional state, regardless of your shared history. Guilt is often the biggest obstacle to protecting yourself from energy drainers. You might feel guilty for setting boundaries with family members, ending friendships, or refusing to help people who seem to desperately need you. But remember this: you cannot help others effectively from an empty cup. Taking care of your own well-being first actually enables you to be more helpful to others in the long run, not less. Surrounding yourself intentionally with energy givers is just as important as avoiding energy drainers. Actively seek out people who inspire you, genuinely support your growth, share your core values, and contribute positively to your life. These relationships will naturally crowd out the toxic ones and create a positive social environment that consistently supports your happiness. Chapter 14. The Power of Being Right Here, Right Now. The present moment is the only moment where happiness can actually be experienced. You literally cannot be happy in the past because the past no longer exists anywhere except in your memory. You cannot be happy in the future because the future hasn't happened yet and may never happen the way you imagine. Happiness only exists now, in this moment, right here. Yet most people spend their entire lives mentally somewhere else, missing the only time when joy is actually available to experience. Research shows that the average person spends nearly half of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're currently doing. And these mind-wandering episodes consistently predict significantly lower levels of happiness. When your mind is wandering into the past or future, you're not actually experiencing life. You're experiencing your thoughts about life. And thoughts about life are almost always less satisfying, less rich, and less fulfilling than the actual direct experience of living. Present moment awareness, also called mindfulness, isn't about emptying your mind completely or stopping all thoughts. That's impossible and would actually be a terrible idea even if you could do it. It's about becoming fully aware of what's happening right now, both internally in your mind and body, and externally in your environment, without getting completely lost in mental narratives and stories about it. It's the difference between experiencing rain falling on your skin and thinking about rain. It's the difference between feeling love in your heart and analyzing love in your head. It's the difference between living your actual life and thinking about your life from a distance. Most people unconsciously resist the present moment because they've been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from achieving future goals or resolving past issues. They think the present moment isn't good enough as it is, that they need to get somewhere else or become someone else to finally be happy. But this is the fundamental delusion that keeps people trapped in perpetual dissatisfaction and suffering. The present moment is always perfect for experiencing happiness, not because external circumstances are always ideal or pleasant, but because happiness is an internal state that doesn't actually depend on external conditions being perfect. You can feel peaceful while experiencing external chaos. You can feel grateful while facing real challenges. You can feel love while dealing with difficult people. The key is learning to access these states consciously rather than waiting passively for circumstances to create them automatically. Developing present moment awareness begins with understanding the crucial difference between pain and suffering. Pain is the unavoidable physical and emotional discomfort that comes with being human. Suffering is the mental elaboration we add to pain through our resistant thoughts and stories. When you stub your toe, the physical pain is unavoidable and temporary. But the mental suffering, the story about how clumsy you are, or how this ruins your entire day, is completely optional. Most of what we call suffering is actually resistance to what's already happening. When you fight against reality, when you desperately wish things were different than they are, when you replay past events obsessively or worry endlessly about future possibilities, you create mental suffering that has nothing to do with present moment circumstances. The practice of acceptance doesn't mean you like everything that happens or that you become passive. It means you stop wasting precious energy fighting what's already happened or what might happen in the future. Breath awareness is the most accessible doorway into present moment consciousness. Your breath is always happening right now, never in the past or future. Focusing on it naturally brings your wandering attention into the present. When you notice your mind wandering into thoughts about the past or future, simply return your attention gently to your breathing. This isn't failure when your mind wanders. It's actually the practice itself. The mind wanders naturally. You notice it wandering. You gently return to the breath. This cycle strengthens your ability to stay present over time. Body awareness is another powerful anchor for present moment consciousness. Your body is always in the present, never in the past or future. Scanning your body systematically from head to toe, noticing physical sensations without trying to change them, connects you immediately with what's happening now. Physical sensations, whether pleasant or unpleasant, are direct experiences rather than mental interpretations. Sensory awareness involves fully engaging with what you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch right now in this moment. Most people move through life on complete autopilot, missing the rich sensory experience available in every single moment. When you consciously notice the colors around you, the sounds in your environment, the textures you're touching, you become present automatically. Emotional presence is perhaps the most challenging, but also the most rewarding aspect of mindfulness practice. Most people try desperately to escape difficult emotions through distraction, substances, or mental avoidance strategies. But emotions are temporary visitors that arise and pass away naturally when you don't resist them or cling to them. When you can stay present with difficult emotions without trying to fix them or escape them, they lose their power to control you. This doesn't mean wallowing in negative emotions or believing every feeling you have. It means acknowledging emotions as temporary weather patterns in the vast sky of your consciousness. You don't have to like the weather, but you don't waste energy trying to control it either. Mindful listening transforms your relationships and deepens your capacity for genuine connection with others. Instead of listening for what you want to hear or mentally preparing your response while others speak, you listen with your complete, undivided presence. You hear not just words, but emotions, intentions, and the whole person behind the words. This quality of attention is so rare in modern life that people feel genuinely seen and appreciated when you offer it. The ultimate goal of present moment awareness isn't to be mindful every single second of every day, which would be impossible and actually unnecessary. The goal is to have the ability to return to the present when you consciously choose to, especially during difficult or important moments. When you're stressed, instead of getting completely lost in worried thoughts, you can return to your breath. When you're with loved ones, instead of being distracted by mental chatter, you can be fully present with them. Present moment awareness also reveals the illusory nature of many problems. When you're fully present right now, you often discover that the problem you're worried about exists mainly in your thoughts about the situation, not in the actual situation itself. Right now, in this very moment, you're probably okay. You're breathing, you're safe. You have what you need in this moment. Most suffering exists in mental projections about what might happen or mental replaying of what did happen. This doesn't minimize real challenges or suggest that present moment awareness magically solves all problems, but it does reveal that many of our problems are self-created through excessive thinking and worrying. Chapter 15. Living from your unshakable core. After everything we've covered together, there's one final truth that will determine whether you actually transform your life or just collect more information to think about. Happiness isn't something you achieve someday. It's something you already are right now beneath all the layers. Deep within you, beneath all the racing thoughts, the fears, the conditioning, the stories you tell yourself about who you are, exists an unshakable core of peace, joy, and wholeness that no external circumstance can ever touch or damage. Learning to live from this core rather than from your surface thoughts and emotions is the ultimate key to sustained happiness, regardless of what life brings. Most people spend their entire lives trying desperately to become happy through external means, never realizing that they're already whole and complete exactly as they are. They think happiness is a destination they'll finally reach when they accumulate enough money, find the perfect love, achieve sufficient success, or obtain enough security. But happiness is actually your natural state, the foundation of your being that gets temporarily covered up by layers of mental conditioning and emotional reactivity. This isn't spiritual fantasy, wishful thinking, or motivational fluff. It's the deepest truth about human nature. When you strip away all the mental noise, all the stories about yourself and your life, all the fears and desires and judgments, what remains is pure awareness. And pure awareness is inherently peaceful, joyful, and content. You've experienced this state during moments of deep meditation, intense focus, profound love, or natural beauty. When the mental chatter suddenly stops and you feel connected to something infinitely larger than your small self, that's your true nature revealing itself. The journey to living from your unshakable core begins with recognizing that you are not your thoughts, emotions, or circumstances. You are the awareness that observes thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. This awareness, your true self, is never actually threatened or damaged by anything that happens in your life. It's like the vast sky that remains completely unchanged, whether the weather is stormy or clear, chaotic or calm. When you identify with your thoughts and emotions, you live at the mercy of whatever mental weather happens to be passing through your consciousness. When you identify with your external circumstances, you feel stable only when life is going well. But when you identify with your essential nature, with pure awareness itself, you have an unshakable foundation that no external event can disturb or destroy. This shift in identity from the temporary to the eternal, from the changing to the unchanging, is what spiritual traditions throughout history have called enlightenment or awakening. But you don't need to become a monk, renounce the world, or spend years in meditation to access this truth. You can recognize it right now in this moment. Ask yourself, who is aware of your thoughts right now? Who notices your emotions rising and falling? Who observes your circumstances changing? That which is aware, that observing presence, is your true self, and it has never been disturbed by anything you've experienced. It was present during your happiest moments and your most difficult challenges. It's present now as you read these words. And it will be present throughout whatever else you experience in life. This awareness is your refuge, your sanctuary, your unshakable core. Living from this core doesn't mean becoming detached, cold, or indifferent to life. It means engaging fully with life from a place of inner stability rather than inner chaos. It means caring deeply about things that matter while not being completely destroyed when they don't go exactly as planned. It means feeling emotions fully and authentically while not being controlled or overwhelmed by them. It means participating completely in the human experience while maintaining connection to something infinitely beyond it. This perspective transforms how you approach challenges fundamentally. Instead of seeing difficulties as problems that threaten your happiness, you see them as opportunities to discover just how unshakable you really are. Instead of trying desperately to control external circumstances to feel secure, you find security in your ability to remain centered regardless of what happens around you. When you live from your unshakable core, you stop waiting for life to be perfect before you allow yourself to be happy. You realize that perfection isn't the absence of problems, challenges, or difficulties. It's the presence of inner peace within any circumstance. You understand that true security isn't having everything under control. It's knowing deep in your bones that you can handle whatever comes. This doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen once and then stay forever automatically. It's a gradual process of remembering who you really are beneath all the layers of conditioning. Every time you choose peace over reactivity, presence over mental chatter, love over fear, you're strengthening your connection to your unshakable core. The practices we've covered throughout this entire journey, gratitude, mindfulness, emotional regulation, relationship skills, physical optimization, all serve to clear away the obstacles preventing you from experiencing your natural state of happiness. They're not ways to become happy someday. They're ways to remove what's blocking the happiness that's already there, waiting to be discovered. Some days you'll feel deeply connected to this truth, and other days you'll feel completely lost in surface thoughts and emotions. This is completely normal and part of the process. The goal isn't to be enlightened every moment. It's to have moments of recognition that gradually become more frequent and stable over time. What changes everything is when you realize that your happiness doesn't actually depend on anything external ever again. Not because external things don't matter or because you stop caring, but because you've found the infinite source of happiness within yourself. From this place, you can engage with the world from overflow rather than emptiness, from love rather than desperate need, from joy rather than desperation. When you live from your unshakable core, you become a source of stability and peace for others around you. Your presence alone helps people feel calmer and more centered. You become part of the solution to the world's suffering rather than part of the problem. You radiate the very qualities that everyone is seeking. This is your invitation to stop looking for happiness in all the wrong places and start recognizing the happiness that has always been present in the right place, within your own being. Everything you've ever wanted, every state you've ever sought, every experience you've ever craved is available right now in the depths of your own awareness. The search is finally over. You are already what you've been looking for your entire life. You are already whole, already complete, already worthy of unlimited happiness and love. The only thing left to do is to live from this truth, to let it guide your choices, inform your responses, and determine your experience of life. Your unshakable core has been waiting patiently for you to come home to it your entire life. It's been waiting lovingly, consistently, never judging you for how long it's taken you to recognize it. It's here now, in this moment, available to you completely and unconditionally. All you have to do is remember who you really are beneath all the noise and let yourself live from that remembering. This is not the end of your journey toward happiness. This is the beginning of living the happiness that you are. This is your moment of recognition, your moment of awakening, your moment of finally coming home to yourself. Welcome home. Welcome to your unshakable core. Welcome to the happiness that's been inside you all along, just waiting to be discovered and lived. The rest of your life starts now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances change, not when you achieve the next goal. Now, in this moment. You have everything you need to be happy right now. You always have, you always will. Go forth and live from your unshakable core. The world is waiting for the gift of your authentic happiness.